guy, just expect a forked tongue to come out and to a fly to disappear. So Elon Musk versus the lizard people. Click the links to Sports Channel, particular hero over subscribe star. Thing is, I don't know how much you can change the rules of Twitter before people kind of finally get fed up. The thing with Twitter is it's pretty much where the celebrity, or any social media, is where the celebrities are, is where the sheep are, and that's where the ad dollars are, and that's where the mainstream media is, and the politicians. So until that changes, and in this current level Sodom and Gomorrah, I kind of don't see that changing. People are not going to be rushing off to an alternative platform. Every once in a while they keep trying to get these new platforms off the ground, but they have some of the same problems as the old platforms. So there's kind of no point. Every once in a while you'll come up with something like Minds, which didn't quite go far enough with free speech, and then you have Gab, which is any legal allowed speech is fine over there. Which is why there's some when you're over target, you got a lot of hit pieces. So Gab and Telegram, Odyssey, and BitChute get a lot of these kind of articles written about them. It's like as if the media is what was that movie where he's touching the head and goes, "It's afraid." Well, hopefully the media is afraid. Don't. I remember that Sam Hyde quote also. So why can't we have free speech on social media? It seems odd that our representatives don't kind of pass some laws protecting that. It would seem to be a very important value because it's literally Amendment 1. So nobody is going to go to Parler, Get It, or Truth because those are just right-wing cringe sites. It's like, I'm leaving Twitter, so I'm going to go to a site that has censorship from the right wing instead of censorship from the left wing. Gab is pretty much, Gab is doing pretty well, but it's a free speech site. And there's a lot of people who have not had free speech for so long that they're a little bit terrified. So what happened? Elon Musk, and whether or not he's a lizard person or not is up for debate, bought Twitter a year ago and but I mean, he's asking a lot of the right questions, so it's really tough to tell with that guy. I think a lot of it is he's so insulated by wealth. Like, these people are living life on way different terms from the rest of us. So free speech did loosen up a little bit, and the left wing lost their mind when he got on board with Twitter. Watching their meltdown was all peak box wine, weed, first world type of meltdowns over people who were sitting in front of a laptop and just the wine glass just going back and forth, like just typing for 3 hours a night, outraged about Twitter. And you look at them, you're like, so I can't help but notice you got a little beer belly, you're well fed, you got a big screen TV in the background, and you're outraged about Twitter, about one a-hole businessman bought it from another a-hole businessman. It's like it's a little bit much ado about nothing. Like, are you really that terrified about free speech? Yeah, the open marketplace of ideas, we can't compete. Because that just kind of means your ideas are shit. It's like, anyway, so the meltdown, that meltdown was beautiful. He changed a few things, and it's nothing too crazy. The site works a little bit better now, and apparently he fired a bunch of people who were these kind of people that are posting these TikTok videos, like a day in the life of a Twitter employee. You look around, you're like, there's no way this video is accurate, because if it is accurate, it sounds like there was a lot of pretty 20-year-old girls who were getting subsidized in these corporate jobs to do stuff like not much at all, but they're still getting paid. Like, that money is just going. It should have been going back into the company, and it's going to these 27-year-old women to keep them busy. They will do anything to keep these women from getting married and having kids, so they're keeping them at work, just doing busy work. Anyway, the site does work a little bit better now. So the next big thing could be the Twitter Spaces, which kind of might morph into some kind of video, like Twitter X or something. It's going to have video hosting, so who knows with that. To be a challenge to YouTube is an uphill battle, because I think YouTube's probably the biggest platform on earth. But if anyone could do it, you'd have to give Twitter has got a built-in. That's good to know how to grow big onions. Twitter has got a built-in fan base, but it's like people are very comfortable where they are on YouTube. So to think that they could switch over to Twitter to watch that kind of long-form video content and live streams, I don't know. People are very, there's what's momentum or inertia or something. They just really don't like to change. The thing is, YouTube is so lame now. It's completely nerfed. It's like the reason Comsky was able to take off so well is because in the mainstream, when the mainstream is so bad that people start looking around from alternatives, and it becomes possible for people to start realizing, oh, things are so bad, we can sell you an alternative. That's kind of what YouTube is now. So now you got for live streaming YouTube, Rumble, a DLive. DLive's like that must be a money laundering scheme or something because they kicked off everyone there after everyone on the right got kicked off a YouTube live stream. They went to DLive because the infrastructure on DLive is perfect, the same as YouTube is. And then the DLive guy kicked off like Nick Fuentes, Vincent James, I don't know, maybe Red Ice, and a bunch of those other right of center people all got kicked off. And the thing is, those are the biggest names on DLive. And you look at DLive now, it's like video game sites where there's a girl who's like a Twitch thought, and there's maybe 100 people in the chat. It's like this doesn't make sense. You don't have the traffic to make DLive profitable, so something else is going on there. I think it's a Chinese company, so who knows. Odyssey and then Twitter X is on the horizon. And keep in mind, the thing is, to get creatives over to the Twitter X, like all you have to do is make sure that the super chats are less than the Rumble and YouTube competitors, and I think people would be desperate to get on board there. So I hope Twitter does offer some competition. Anyway, so before he bought it, apparently Twitter was losing money, and YouTube is still losing money. I don't know how that works. Like these companies, so you're saying like companies are just throwing money just to maintain control of this corner of the market, but like at some point, like don't they have to become profitable? I don't know how that works. So Elon starts selling blue check marks, which brings in money because it makes your stuff more visible, and it really triggers left wingers for some reason. I mean, it's like $96. You spend that in a week on weed, and you don't want to spend that for a blue check mark. And you're on the site 3 hours a day. There are people, probably more left wingers than right, who live on Twitter for some reason. And it's just the most shallow site. And some advertisers get scared away, but after a few months, they start coming back. So he hires this lizard person from Rothschild's WEF, Schwabs Central Blood Drinking Casting. And before you get too freaked out, I think the reason he did it was to hire this I don't know, this lizard who's used to like rubbing tails with all her other little lizard friends in ad agencies at high levels. So it's kind of going to let her talk to her fellows, so they're all kind of on the same page together. It's telling advertisers like, okay, Twitter is not going to be Gab or something. It's not going to be this crazy. You can get more mainstream advertisements back on Twitter. And the problem is that Elon's messaging about less censorship doesn't make sense with this WEF, lizard person woman in there. And some people are saying, well, she might be there for a few months to bring in more mainstream ads, and then maybe she'll leave. Who knows? The deeper issue, obviously, is like, well, why don't we have guaranteed free speech on the internet? Because the internet determines elections. It seems to be it's the new town square. So if you don't have free speech, well, the First Amendment is meaningless, and it's important because it's number one. I'm sure our representatives will get right on that when they're not busy skimming money from your taxpayer dollars to Ukraine and various other countries. The next is the plot twist. They're not going to do anything for you. Late stage Weimar. You might as well at this point form militias. So the next is the WEF in general and the concept of these NGOs that actually rule these nations, because nations have been subverted by these networked financial institutions who have interests very much adverse to yours. And what nations are now are just these big commercial zones ruled by bankers, media, and big tech. In fact, some of these corporations are looking for seats at the United Nations table. Nations of the West could work together if they wanted to and take over banking, which is one of the reasons that the globalists are pushing the open borders, because the fastest way to make a nation helpless is to bring in so much chaos that the people fight each other. Diversity actually turns out to be a weakness. The nation isn't ruled by the people because the people are a tribe, but not just a collection of strangers, which is what America has turned into now, which is why it's kind of looking like a second world. And it's weird that nobody in the media ever asks politicians any hard questions ever at all about when they make these claims. And you go, so where historically has that statement been true, and where historically has it been false? Because it seems like there's more objective evidence that says the things you're saying is a lie. And it's weird that politicians just keep repeating this lie. Something's going on here. And you look at the media like, oh, you're in on it. That's why the media doesn't ask any questions. It surprises people to learn that many areas of America are literally second and third world conditions right now. And I know this is doing a lot of heavy lifting from a Twitter video for CEO, but the older I get, the more I see the interconnectedness of all this kind of stuff and the machinations of these filthy globalists, and realize that you can look at their movements, their fomentations, the further and further back you look, The thing is, if you don't have free speech on social media, then the ideas that get people elected don't get expressed. It's just that simple. If you control Google, Facebook, Twitter, and the six mainstream media companies, then you determine the fate of the West. And Rothschilds, actually, who his guy is related to, said that if you control the currency, you control the world, which I think technically is not quite accurate, because if the media fired up the people, if the media were honest, oh, you sweet summer child, they would just simply tell their governments to seize the bankers' assets, take the banks, deport the bankers, or imprison them. That would probably be for the best, put them in prison. And the central banks would just be ended overnight. It's like if countries wanted to do that, they could do that, because like you just take the power, you take the wind out of a bank's sails. It's like it would be easy if the West all got together and did it and decided they didn't want to be slaves to NGOs anymore. But again, don't hold your breath on that. But it's a moot point, because power controls both of those institutions. Don't you think it's weird that less than a dozen companies control like 90% of social media and mainstream media? Like, shouldn't there be antitrust kind of breaking up but I mean more than just intra the country, but inter, like amongst all the countries of the West? It's like, shouldn't they all just get together and say, yeah, we're just going to take the banks, we're just going to seize control of that, why don't we just get on board that? It's like, what are they going to do? Not much. Anyway, but yeah, that's never going to happen. Anyway, so why on earth do we allow corporations to be the secret rulers of the earth? Because sports ball, corn syrup, the video games, and then someone was pointing out today, they go, the culture war. You're so busy fighting the culture war that it's the grow the tall grass. You're just busy talking about, I don't know even what's in the news. What's the latest thing in the news? The mermaid thing. The what's the girl with the mermaid, the Little Mermaid or something? It's a Disney movie. It's a live action. And yeah, it's woke and it's stupid race swapping. But I will say that the CGI is really weird. That's not a movie that is. People think CGI is way more advanced than it is. I saw that preview, and she's swimming around underwater. It's like, yeah, that kind of level of CGI seems like it's probably 10 to 20 years. You just should not have had those underwater scenes to have her in a green room and pretend that there's resistance on her body parts. It just doesn't fly, and it's really dark for some reason too. It's like, why didn't you just do an animation? And if you wanted her to do the voice, have her do the voice. Like, oh, because we specifically wanted this. What's her name? Halle Berry or something. Um, Halle Berry, not the original, who was great, though she was in some unfortunate movies herself. So why do we allow these lizard people to actually be the secret rulers of the earth? Because sports ball, corn syrup, video games, prawn, bread and circuses. We all just kind of sit back and we watch it all crumble in the empire of dust. It's funny, you look at like that movie now, and you think, ah, he's not really talking about this one African guy. You see the guy look in the camera and goes, yeah, I'm talking about you. What was that quote about the pyramids? Anyway, so click the links to support channel, except for Vegan. You've been too generous lately. And I'll see you guys all next episode.